Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Much like our the other thing we recorded today, this is about how war is the enemy.
Yeah. Indeed it is.
These went together. Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell. Jesus.
You sure?
Yeah, legit forgot for a second.
Uh-huh. Do you want to think about it? Do you need to double check?
No, I figured it out. I got it.
You good? You're comfortable with that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Howl's Moving Castle, Immortal Engines Part 2.
City of Bones, City of Howl.
This summer, experience the epic tale of a young woman transformed by a mysterious curse.
That's really me, isn't it?
An enchanted moving castle.
This is a magic house.
And the one wizard powerful enough to set her free.
This is, listen, big thanks to Harrison Millie for bringing you and us this movie pick for this podcast show that we are performing currently.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Harrison Millie. Always a pleasure to watch Howl's Moving Castle. You've seen this before, right, Tom?
Yeah, but not often. Only once before.
Yeah, same here. I've seen it maybe twice before, but I think the last time I watched it, I actually watched it with Hannah fairly recently, but we were doing other stuff too, so it was like a background situation. Mm-hmm. So
a back sitch. I gotcha.
A back sitch, yeah. Mm-hmm. So sitting down, actually, really honing in on this. It was nice. This is a story about one lady just being slowly worn down by a lot of weird men. Pretty much, right?
Yeah, more or less. This is an interesting film. I'm curious to talk about it with you.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a big fan of the book upon which this movie is based.
Interesting.
And I'm also a fan of Studio Ghibli, obviously of
Ghibli,
of Miyazaki. Although I haven't, he always has way more movies than I realize.
Right? Is this Miyazaki?
Yeah.
Okay, because it occurred to me Studio Ghibli has other films that he didn't do.
Correct. Yeah.
So I watched the one with the cats.
Which one? The cat returns.
Maybe they have top hats. They're little dapper cats. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
It's okay. I have a list in front of me. I just have to find the right one. It might be The Cat Returns. Is that the one with fancy cats?
There are many fancy cats in it, yes.
Where they're talking and they're on their hind legs.
Yep.
That's got to be it. And still a lot of fun, but definitely different. Definitely not it's like what the fuck is this? It feels like a little less cohesive than this, which is funny to say because this is also
this movie is very hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a lot of their work, though, because it's very it's weird because it has the structure of a story, right? Where it's this is the third act moment and etc. But nothing's it's a lot more stream of consciousness where it's
yeah.
Okay, so this is the bad guy. Oh no, she's not the bad guy. She's now living with them.
Yeah, there's no sense of rising action, and there's no sense of there's very little sense of cause and effect in this movie for me.
Yeah, there's a couple
happen.
moments. Yeah, there's only one moment that bothered me, but other than that, it's more. I like that about it because it reminds me of life, and it's this and then this and then this and then this, and the characters act a little not like human beings for that reason. Like Sophie really just rolls with stuff.
They sort of all do. They sort of, yeah.
It's Alice in Wonderland logic,
basically,
is the thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind that because it's like more meditative. It's like, ooh, this is beautiful, and I'm sort of following this person through this dream logic.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous film.
Oh God, it's so pretty.
And I love the design of the castle. It's
the
so
castle,
cool. Yeah,
yeah. Just it's that thing of this. It's their animation.
Yeah.
For everything, where it's like something as little as like someone pouring tea, it's just like, oh my God, that's so fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
like it's every little thing is,
and the colors fucking pop in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film.
These movies are like, it's how I hope. Like if there were an afterlife, this is what I'd want it to look like, where it's like, this looks heavenly.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of look. So like, I mean, I'm sure everybody listening has seen at least one of these films, so they know exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, it's the story of Sophie, who is just, she gets was worn down by dudes, weird dudes, edgelord dudes, wizard dudes,
bird
dudes who are scarecrows. Like she couldn't get a break with the scarecrow.
Yeah, not
Scarecrow
even the
turns
scarecrow.
to life and he's like, "Hi, I love you," and it's like, "Fuck's sake!"
It's my true love's kiss. Fucking what?
Yeah. So Sophie makes hats for a living, and she's hanging out in this town where they keep talking about this Howl freak who goes around in a moving castle kidnapping young women,
eating their
and
hearts.
It's like, yeah. Her town it's a place I could really Assassin's Creed in,
Oh yeah, it's market chipping. It's a delightful little magical village that has some light tech. There's like steampunk technology in this.
Yeah.
So it's like very turn of the century.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's fucking
it feels
magic
like,
all over the place.
It feels World War era, but with steampunky. The idea is that it's a war being fought with like the king and the kingdoms waging war are using magic using wizards.
And so the king has issued a decree. These two neighboring kingdoms are going to war over a missing prince who turns out to be the scarecrow. And the king is basically issued a blanket order that all sorcerers, all magic users, witches and wizards are to report to him immediately to declare their allegiance. If they're for the kingdom, then they're supposed to fight for him with their magic, and if they're against them, we find out that the invitation is a trap, and they will use this device that strips them of all their magic power.
Right. So hat making Sophie is just hanging out in town,
just trying to live her life in the middle of this bullshit.
Trying to not be bothered. And she goes through a small road, and some military creeps start like hitting on her, and like they're definitely creepy. And she is saved by Howl. Although I think she could have gotten out of the situation, but like in the moment she's saved by Owl. And I bring this up because he's like, "Here, I'll get you away from these creeps. Just fly around with me." "Oh, we're getting chased by a demon. Now witches hate you. Okay, bye."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Thanks, man.
Bye.
Thanks."
Yeah, you just painted a big old target on my back.
Yeah, thanks for saving me from those creeps, you asshole. So like a witch shows up at her hat shop, and just like, to be real shitty, she asks her about Howl because she saw them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not direct about it, and then she just like casually turns her into an old lady and leaves. And Sophie rolls with it. Like that's the first moment where you have to like kind of suspend your disbelief, where she's just like, "Well, I guess I'm an old lady now." Like she says, "My clothes finally suit me."
Well, there's an element here that's more pronounced in the book that this is based on, but the idea is that Sophie thinks so little of herself.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And of her potential, that she just wants to be a hermit, even though she's only 18 in this. So she kind of wants to be an old lady. So it's like when she first gets turned into an old lady, it's like a relief for her. She's like, "Thank God, I don't have to worry about anything. People will leave me alone." Yeah,
I think they do that on the back end more. Like it would have been helped if she was like a Beauty and the Beast Belle type, where she's like a bookworm and everybody's like, "What a weirdo," and she never wants to go out. but they don't quite do that. They do it a little. It's fine. It works fine. But she really rolls with it.
Yeah.
Like, she instantly starts identifying herself as an old lady, too. And, yeah, she's so into it.
And she just fucks off. It's just like, I'm just going to leave.
She goes up a mountain to die. I mean, to find Howl.
To find Howl, to see if Howl can...
Or die.
Yeah.
Or die. Whatever happens first.
Whatever happens first. It seems like the second one is more likely.
Yeah. She runs into the scarecrow. She, like, fixes the scarecrow. It's stuck. And then it bothers her for the rest of the movie, but it's just a scarecrow with a turnip head. It's fine. Once it becomes a dude, though, he's literally like, I'll be back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no.
Oh, good. You're my true love. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to go to the kingdom and let them know I'm not dead, so this war will stop, but then I'm coming back.
Yeah, it's like, fuck.
Ooh.
Then I'm going to continue to follow you everywhere like the scarecrow.
And I'm a prince, so you can't get rid of me.
Yeah. She runs into the castle. She gets in. There's a fire demon slave played by Billy Crystal, which is, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. He powers the house. He powers the house and all the magic. Because he's got some sort of deal going with Howl, but he can't tell her what it is, because that's how curses and magical arrangements work in this universe. Similarly, Sophie can't tell anyone she has been cursed, although Calcifer, the fire demon, can see it because he's magic.
And Howl can too, right? Like,
yes, Howl immediately sees it.
She's in the right company for this, for sure. It seems like in this world, wizards are just walking around fucking with everybody. Wizards and witches, like, there's no laws against it. There's no like so many objects and things have seemed to be humans that were turned. Like that child character, I don't know what, like, they don't mention it, but I feel like that child must be some sort of cursed, or his parents. Like, it's just
he's his
like
apprentice.
There's just no wizard regulations in this world, right?
I mean, well, there's sort of
unregulated magic.
Yeah. I suppose so. It's just magic is very commonplace.
Right, like this prince is just a scarecrow on a mountain because somebody turned him into a scarecrow, and he's just bouncing around hoping to Christ that he finds his true love.
Yeah, like I don't think we ever find out who turned him into a scarecrow in the movie. Like, they don't say.
Yeah, we don't, because it's just unregulated magic just zipping around everywhere. I will say, in the prince's defense, if someone turned me into a scarecrow and said, you need a kiss from your true love, I would probably gaslight myself into falling in love with the first fucking thing I found. Yeah. Right?
I'd be out there smooching a ladybug.
Yeah. I'd be like, you're definitely my true love. It wouldn't fucking matter. So she gets in this moving castle. She says she's the new cleaning lady. She makes a deal with the fire demon, because the fire demon is tied to Howl as well, and is like, listen, if you break the spell, I'll work on breaking your spell. But it's kind of to betray Howl, because we know, like, their spell is connected in some way. Mm-hmm. And then she blackmails Fire. And says, like, tell him I'm the cleaning lady and you better do what I say. Howl lives like a scumbag. He just has a child. He lives in his messy fucking castle. Yeah. So she cleans it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He lives like a real dirt boy.
Yeah, he does. He's like
a dude who got his first apartment.
Right. Like, I get what she sees in him. He has the voice of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
So I get it.
And he's extremely fancy.
He's extremely fancy, but he is so high maintenance. Yeah. Like, literally and emotionally.
Yeah, he throws a magical tantrum, and that scene, the circumstances for it are different, but that scene is like, between this movie and the book is identical. Like, he throws the same kind of tantrum. Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because she cleans and she switches his potions around, and he accidentally gives himself red hair.
He dyes his hair ginger, and
he's
freaks
like,
out.
I'm a monster. And it's like, first of all, offensive, dude. Offensive. But second of all, you look fine. And then he says, I see no point in living if I can't be beautiful. And then he turns into goo. Yeah. And it's like, son of a bitch.
He invites the spirits of darkness, and he slimes the whole castle.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of tantrums he throws.
Yeah. At no point. So this is the part where, again, it's dream logic. it's so dream logic because you'd think she'd be constantly trying to break her spell. And throughout the movie, she not only doesn't care, but then she just like slowly becomes young.
Like you'll notice it's situational. It depends on on how she's feeling about herself.
Right. That makes sense.
She'll transform on a scene by scene basis, and sometimes within the same scene.
I love that. By
it's
the way.
really cool. Yeah, and it'll just kind of seamlessly switch between different actresses. It's young Sophie is Emily Mortimer, but it's a different woman whose name I can't remember, who plays the older version, and they just
I'll look it up. There's some classic actresses.
Lauren Bacall is the Witch of the Wastes.
Yeah, that when I learned that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but they so it's the revelation, which is very, very subtle in this film, is
Gene Simmons.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's super, super subtle in the movie, but the revelation is that Sophie herself is magic, and she's the one that's keeping this curse on herself.
Right.
So you notice when she
it's a good
sleeps,
lesson about like, I don't know, self-image and crap.
There's something
like that's the idea.
Yeah,
there's
an element to that to it for sure. But yeah, like you'll notice when she sleeps, she's young.
Yeah. As we all are.
Yeah.
But
I transform into a baby every time I close my eyes.
Exactly. Me too. And I guess it's the dream logic in the sense that she's just every new situation, she just is now existing in it. And it really reminds me of dreams where it's like that weird illogical thing where you go down these weird rabbit holes and it's like, suddenly I'm here now and I'm working on this and I'm focused on that. So she like just sort of ignores the fact that she's an old lady or that she has a spell on her that I figure that's why she came to the castle in the first place, to get the spell lifted.
Yeah. But
then she just sort of keeps going, rolls with it. And then it gets to the point where she just starts doing errands where he's like, I'm supposed to go see the king, but I don't want to do it. So can you pretend to be my mother and go see him yourself? And she's like, sure. And she runs into the witch who turned her into an old lady, and they're just sort of exchanging jabs.
Yeah.
Which that's the stuff I like about this is I like it makes for weird structure, but I like that morality in this is very much fluid. Like that idea of like she's a good person, so she's not gonna help this witch as we see with the stairs. But they're sort of just like, hey, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. But they're also like kind of cooperative with each other.
Yeah, she's not cruel. And that's like a big thing for Miyazaki's movies, at least the ones that I've seen, is he's very anti-war, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
So even conflict between people is like weirdly not, I don't want to say like civil.
I think he has this idea, he's very anti-war, he's very pro-nature. Like he makes a lot of movies about like nature and nature spirits and like how war and politics are ruining life on this planet. So this movie, its idea of fluid morality, like the Witch of the Waste, isn't really a villain by the end of the film. Sophie's stepmom kind of is briefly forced to betray her, but is not happy about it. Like the court, the king's head sorceress, who is Mrs. Solomon, who is also played by somebody of note who I can't immediately recall, is also kind of a bad guy at first, but then like at the end of the movie when the war is over, she's like, thank goodness I don't have to do this crap anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like there's this idea of how these people are only enemies or only adversarial because of war and politics. Like otherwise they'd be living in harmony.
Yeah, you could say if this movie took place in the submarine, like after the Cold War, it would feel naive to have that sort of like fluid morality, you know?
Yeah.
Where like, no one's a bad guy. But because it's a fantasy, it's more feels, it's more like a wish than a commentary.
Yeah.
On like, this is how things are. No, this is how things should be.
It's like it's like closer to like a fable, I guess. I'm probably not using that word correctly, but yeah, it's much more fairy tale.
I think fable, like something with a lesson. Fables all have to have a lesson, right?
Yeah, and like Howl literally turns into a bird because his whole thing is I don't want to be caged or confined by rule. Like I don't want to have to go fight a war just because you told me to and you're the king, so I have to listen to you. That's bullshit.
Right.
So that's like the whole idea of this movie is at least that's like a huge theme of the film.
Yes, for sure. It's again, it's not like naively optimistic. It's more of like a message for a kid. You know,
this is the way it should be. Like, people oftentimes are only quote unquote bad because of circumstance.
Right, and so it's a lot of showing that where like the evil witch is in love with Howl, and like and then it's about like her own, like showing her own problems. Like she's a very big lady, so like the stairs are a problem, and then they age her. And she becomes like she has like dementia.
Yeah, because she's
start feeling bad for her. Yeah,
it's showing her as a person who's vulnerable, as just another human being who has vulnerabilities, just the same as anybody else. So that was really a clever way of, we've only seen her one time before, and it's where she just kind of rolls into Sophie's shop.
Yeah, and
barely explains why she's mad, and then fucking casts a curse on her. And then when Sophie sees her again, she's struggling to climb the steps. She's just sweating profusely. And Sophie's like, well, take this curse off me and I'll help you up the steps. And then the witch has to admit, I don't know how to take the curse off you. I only know how to cast it.
Suddenly the witch is humanized because she's like, please, for the love of God, help me. Sophie, which I think is rightfully, doesn't help her.
No, fuck
it's like,
you.
no, fuck you. But she does like, at a certain point, she's like, so none of the guards are going to help her?
You guys invited her here as an invitation from the king. So it's like, she won't do anything.
I'm not going to help her, but like, what the fuck, guys? Someone help her, right?
Yeah, she won't do anything additionally to help her, but she's also not like piling... she's not doing anything actively. Like, she's not piling additional cruelties on top of it. She's just
it makes...
And she's also an old lady herself during this. It's like she's struggling.
Yeah, she's got that dog.
Yeah, she's struggling to carry a dog up the steps, a very tiny dog. So she's not going to be able to help the witch much.
Turns out to be an evil dog that also joins their little group. They just keep accumulating people. It's a spy dog.
Yeah, it's a little spy dog with little chicken feet. He's got little chicken feet.
Yep. Yeah,
but it's the same idea. It's the idea of circumstance.
It makes Sophie a very good and relatable, or not even relatable, but a character you want to relate to, which is that her moral compass to me is very correct, where she's like, I'm not going to fucking help you. You cursed me.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm not going to sit here and watch you suffer either. Like, the principle of that pisses me off too.
Yeah.
So it works really well because it makes her kind of a strong character, but not a mean character at the same time.
Right.
And so I just like that about her. And so they go into the fucking kingdom. The witch finds a seat, which turns out to be, I don't know what, but I know what it does.
It's like a mirror trap. Yeah. It's that room in House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
That like kaleidoscope room.
Yeah. Ooh, I want to watch that movie now.
We could do that, Dave. We could do that. We could watch House on Haunted Hill. It's
Jeffrey Rush, man.
Great film.
Yeah, Chris Kattan. Come on.
Jeffrey Combs.
Oh, yes. Lisa Loeb. Yeah. Was that Ryan Phillippe?
No.
As the cameraman?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anyway.
I believe you. Anyway, so she gets House on Haunted Hill while Sophie meets with... So who is... She's like the king's...
She's the court wizard, basically.
Court wizard, got it.
She's the king's wizard.
Yeah. She reveals that Howl was her apprentice, and then there was some sort of curse, which I never quite figured out what the curse meant.
It's...
I know it has to do with the stupid heart and like the fire.
Howl found a fire demon, Calcifer, and made a deal with it. He gave Calcifer his heart in exchange.
That simple.
It'll keep Calcifer alive, and then he gets to use all of Calcifer's considerable magic power to do his own shit.
What it felt like to me, this was why I had trouble with this, is that when they meet Calcifer, he's like, yeah, I'm a fire demon. Yeah, I've made this deal. I'm cursed with Howl. And I'm like, cool. And then later they kept being like, he has a deal with a demon. And it felt like they like presented it mysteriously. So I figured like, well, surely it's not that, right? Because we know about that.
I think there's an element of Howl's reputation too. And it's a little tricky for me because like I said, I'm a fan of the original novel.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's like the idea of Howl is that he's this sinister wizard who eats girls' hearts, and he made this deal with a demon, but like obviously not all demons are evil. The deal he made is very straightforward. He's not literally eating girls' hearts. He's just a heartbreaker because he likes to run off when things get complicated.
He fucks and runs. Yeah, he fucks and runs.
So yeah, it's that. I think that's that. It's just like his reputation versus we've already seen what the reality of Howl is, and we know that he's not this monstrous guy, and that Calcifer's not like an evil demon. He's Billy Crystal,
right? Which still could be evil, but yes,
it's true. Yeah,
yeah. No, it just felt like they were talking about another demon when they kept talking about it. So I got confused. But yeah, that all makes sense. That all makes sense.
And I think it's supposed to illustrate in this film anyway. It's harder to... Actually, no, I think it's the same in both the film and the story. But the idea is that Howl is at his core, even though he's kind of a coward and he doesn't like to deal with problems and he just kind of wants to be free, he is also like tender-hearted, and he didn't want to see this demon die. So he's like, well, you can have my heart. I get to use your magic, though.
All right. He's still another weirdo that like is wearing her down as far as I'm concerned. When he's like, I got you a gift. And the gift is just his house when he was a kid. And it's like, well, you didn't get me this gift. You just gave me your old house. I don't know. I'm not saying Howl's a bad guy. I'm just saying that there's going to be conflicts along the way where it's like, we never do what I want to do. You know, like you're always into your own stuff and you pretend that's my stuff. There's going to be a lot of that, I think, between them.
Yeah, it's probably fair.
I don't know how long they're going to last.
Well, there's a few books in the series, Dave. So
okay, I mean, I would stick around because I'd be living in a flying castle, and that adds a lot to the relationship.
It's pretty chill. It's a walking castle. It doesn't fly. Yeah, that's a different Ghibli movie.
I thought it flew at the end. It's flying at the end of the movie, right?
No, it's walking.
Is it still walking at the end?
It's walking.
All right. And then he's gone for days at a time. So like,
yeah, he is.
You know, if she needs something on the side, she can get that. It's a good deal for her. Where were we?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's like, this movie,
I do want to go through it because it is like dream logic.
If it really flies off the rails at this point.
Yeah, this was where it starts. Where like, so he actually shows up and confronts the wizard, the king's wizard, or witch or sorcerer or whatever.
Yeah,
and then they have a wizard fight, which looks great. It's I like a good abstract wizard fight.
Yeah,
and then she gets away on a plane, on a steampunk plane.
Sophie,
and Sophie does, yeah. And at this point, it starts becoming like war comes to them, and Howl is his motivations. This is where things kind of, for me, become a problem. So she crashes the plane in, and she's like sort of waiting for him, and he shows up, and he's becoming slowly more and more of this bird demon as time goes on. And he's like, I finally have something to fight for. I'm not gonna let he changes. So it's important component is that the castle can have many doors to the outside world depending on the little switch. And he like morphs the castle with again, more dream logic. He like morphs it with her house, which seemed really weird to me because it was like, it's still, the door can still go to other places. So he changed the interior of the castle.
Yes,
basically
to
look more like her. Yeah,
and
then also made the front door go to where she lived.
Yeah, his castle is magic. It's got he's got a couple of houses in different cities around the kingdom.
Right, which is why it's part of the fucking and running right there.
Yeah. So he has like different identities and different, like he's Wizard Pendragon in one place, he's Howl in another place, he's Wizard Jenkins in one place.
He has families, right? He's
got road families. Yeah, he's got secret children. He's like a traveling salesman.
Yeah, there's no way he doesn't have many families.
Yeah, this is not his first Sophie.
Right, and that's the thing is like it feels like he's committing to settling down, I guess, is the idea. But we don't know how many times he's done this. And so it's the idea of like, this is our forever home. I made you a home here. And like, yeah, the castle is still the castle, obviously. But we've integrated the two, your life and mine. is what it feels like. And then and then they start bombing the town, and that's when he's like, I will protect you and your home. And I was thinking, like, but the home is still in the castle, right? Like, the castle is, the moving castle is up on some fucking mountain. So if they bomb the town, it's not going to bomb her home unless they're outside.
I guess. I don't know.
Right. This is where, to me, it starts falling apart a little. The logic of the movie, at least. Again, I haven't read the book.
Well, none of this is in the book. The book is very, very different.
Okay.
So, but yeah, like things just start happening for no reason in the second half of this movie.
Yeah. It starts becoming really confusing because I'm not missing anything, right? Is like because they specifically show when the army goes to his other spots to like break open the door, it's just a facade. There's nothing really there.
Correct.
It's just magic doors. Mm-hmm. So suddenly he's like protective of this house, like it's not a magic door situation as well, but it is. It is a magic door situation. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand what he's up to. And he starts fighting, and she's like, we have to save Howl. We have to make it so that he doesn't want to protect this area anymore. So we have to get rid of the house. And the way she does that, and this is where it gets really confusing, is she takes the fire, Billy Crystal, and says, I'm going to bring you outside the house. And he's like, don't do that. It'll collapse. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I still have to do it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know why she thinks she has to do it in this moment.
She does not have the magic power. And then Calcifer also says nobody but me and Howl can move the castle. Right. So she doesn't have the ability to actually move the doors. So the only thing she can do is take Calcifer outside so the castle collapses, thus severing the connection.
Got it.
So she takes him outside, the castle collapses, she immediately brings him back inside, and they rebuild what parts of the castle they can, so that the castle now no longer is connected to any of those places.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And now she can run that little remnant of the castle down to where Howl is to try to save him. That's what they do at this point.
Yeah, they didn't do a great job at explaining it.
It is confusing.
Because she brings him out, it collapses, and she goes, all right, quick, let's get back inside. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why were you outside?
Why we do this? But that is what it is.
It's unplugging and plugging something back in.
Basically, it's a hard reset.
But again, I don't understand why Howl feels the need to defend the door.
It appears that if they went through the door, they would go inside the castle. Even though the earlier parts of the movie seem to contradict that, that is what the movie seems to be telling us at this point.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to protect it.
Or I think he's protecting it from... Remember, there's an element of... these are magic fights, so they have those like ink creatures, and the ink creatures can get inside the house. And if they get inside the porthole, I think they can get to the castle. So he's trying to protect her from the magic ink creatures.
Right, that makes more sense.
So
and
that's
then she severs the portal.
He's got to have bird claws on the ground.
Yeah.
He's got to have his little bird boots on the ground.
His little bird booties. And they sever the connection. They make a makeshift castle. And then things just start turning into the end of 2001. They crash the thing. The thing splits in half.
Because the Witch of the Waste is nothing.
Yes.
They're being kind to her, but she's nothing but a fucking liability for the.
Yes.
Like she puts out Calcifer by just carelessly throwing a ghoul into him, and he eats it, and it like puts him out. She starts smoking a cigar that was given to them by Solomon, the king's wizard.
Right.
And so
I love the cigar. It turns her back into herself briefly too.
Yeah. So it's like a cigar that's like magic. It makes her like shitty again.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like suppressing Calcifer as well. So it's like, and then after this point, she finally realizes that Calcifer has Howl's heart. So she yanks him out of the fire, and it breaks the castle in half.
And burns her.
So Sophie has to douse her with water.
Right, and
thus
Sophie
putting
lights
out
on
Calcifer.
fire, too.
Yeah, she does. It's just a shit show, and it's all because the Witch of the Waste is a fucking liability.
Yeah. Well, it's a lesson about compassion, where it's like you still have to treat her with compassion, even though you really want to toss her out this moving
and
castle.
you have no reason to, because she's the Witch of the Waste. She was a bad guy right up until this point. She's been nothing but mean to Sophie, but like seems to be the point that Miyazaki is trying to make, where it's like, no, you still have to be kind. You still have to respect life.
Right, that's who she is.
Even when fucking the witch sucks and it is a liability to have around.
Yeah. There no scars from the burning. They're fine.
Yeah, they're all fine. It's magic.
Yeah. And so that basically the house gets split, and her and the dog fall down a cliff, and it's like this is the low point. And she finds the door to the blackness. There's the door goes to a bunch of places, and then there's like a darkness area that they're like only Howl goes there. And I'm still not sure what that was. I thought it was like, so is that the war that's being fought? Is that the idea that the door leads to wherever the war is being fought?
Are you talking about at this point?
When he goes through the door, the first time we see him go through, he's zipping around and there's all these burning buildings. And they talk about the door as like the door that's the color black, right? And they say only Howl goes there.
I don't know what it is.
I thought it was either the future, or the darkness, the fears of war. But I also thought it was like where the war is happening centrally.
I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be literal, because when Sophie goes through it, she goes back in time.
Yeah, so it's just a wizard door.
Yeah, we get the magic is very abstract, and I mean it always is. In
you see why
in Miyazaki's movies.
Yeah, I think maybe it is a time door, because maybe he's going to the future, or a possible future where everything's devastated.
I don't know. I think the blackness also kind of, like you were saying, like it's not necessarily the future, but the uncertainty of things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because when she steps through it, she learns the truth about Howl and Calcifer. She sees Howl as a little boy finding Calcifer, and they make their deal.
Right, but this is why I was confused, is because I thought I already knew that.
I don't know.
Like, that's what's weird, is she goes back and sees them make the deal, and I was like, right, they made the deal. They kept saying, like, if Calcifer dies, Howl dies, and I'm like, oh, yeah, because they made it like they're connected. It was a weird thing to reveal to me, because it felt evident up until that point.
I think it was just
connected,
spelling it out, like what their literal, even though they had already told us that Calcifer had Howl's heart. I guess it was just like us finally seeing it happen. I don't know.
Right. I wonder if I rewatched it, I could realize that Sophie doesn't realize it or something like that.
I don't think she's figured it out, no.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, of course. And so the thing that solves it is she smushes the fire heart back into him, which it just felt so anticlimactic to me, because I thought there was some other component going to discover.
I don't know what she learned that was new information that like told her how to solve it. Like, I don't know why she's the one that's able to do it. The back half of this movie is a fucking mess. Like, I'll just go ahead and say it.
It's like, imagine meeting a character at the beginning and they're like, ooh, I really need my tooth removed. And then you do the whole movie and the reveal is they need their tooth removed. And it's like, yeah, I know. And then the character does it and it solves everything. It's like, oh, why didn't you do that 5 minutes into meeting them? It's that. It's like, yeah, like, okay. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah. It's
at that point.
It's a very, very messy finale. Things just kind of happen for no real reason. Like, no kidding. The prince, she smooches the scarecrow for helping them out at the end. He transforms back into the prince and just says,
such a fancy boy.
Thank goodness you've broken this curse that I got on me, that the only way to break it was a kiss from my one true love. It's like, wait, she's your true love?
Right.
It's like, well, now I have to go. Yeah, now the war is over because they were fighting over my missing ass. Never learn who turned him into a scarecrow and why. He just hops back off to the kingdom to end the war, and like we see Solomon, and she's like, "Thank God the war is over." It's a real
bad
ending. This movie, the back half of this movie is bad.
It's a real beer fest moment with Landfill.
Yeah,
where it's like, I'm his twin brother, and they're like, "Oh, perfect,
sure,
perfect." Like it's that where they sort of just are like, "Oh, that's really convenient." It's
like this movie
this works out really well.
This movie, and then Sophie restores Calcifer and Howl, but Calcifer decides to come back and live with them anyway. They're all going to be one big family with Markle, the little apprentice boy. Sophie is young again because she's finally let go of that all the bullshit that was foisted upon her that convinced her that she wasn't good enough to do stuff. And they're happily ever after, and that's the end of the movie. This movie frustrates me.
See, okay.
Because, like we've said a lot, it's a very, very beautiful film. It's a gorgeous movie to watch. I love the design of everything. The colors pop. It's expertly animated. It has a very memorable score. I think it's one of the more memorable scores of any Ghibli film. It gets used a lot. But it doesn't, like, the story of this movie is surprisingly weak, and it's, especially when you compare it to some of his other movies that are like really equally not there's with equal amount of dream logic to them and the same kind of themes, but like Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away or Castle in the Sky really have simple stories, but they're still
strong.
They're still strong stories, and they make a strong emotional impact on you when you watch them. And this movie does not have that, at least not for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. And here's the thing: my take on this film, my last note was, this film is gorgeous. I don't care that it's nonsense. So, like, I agree with you, but my reaction is slightly different.
That's
where
fair.
I'm just like, I got an emotional charge from I get this a lot. Like, movies like Fantasia, I used to put on and just live in it. I like existing in things. That's why I like VR. It's like, I like that idea of immersing yourself in a vibe, in a really like nice area, not even having to like follow anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is that for me, which is like, this is a perfect background movie because it's this beautiful vibe. It's this gorgeous fucking animated world. And then when you sit down and watch it, you're like, oh yeah, this doesn't make any sense. But like, I guess it's not fair to movies to say this, but it, like, for me, it makes up for it because it's like narratively, you're right. It is not good.
As a narrative, it's not good.
Yeah, but
as a piece of art, it is very good.
It is very good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what the problem is, that it's not like, what I'm saying that it's not fair is that it's presenting itself as a narrative, right? Mm-hmm. So it should be judged as a narrative. That is the correct way. It's just, I end up not caring in the end when I'm like,
and that's fair.
Yeah.
The other
It's as fair as it can be.
Yeah. The other part of my frustration that I'll just go real quick because I don't want to spend a bunch of time comparing this movie to the book, especially since we're pretty much at the end, and also you haven't read the book. But
right,
a part of what I get frustrated about watching this film is that Howl's Moving Castle is a super, super unique story. It's a really, really cool book. It's a really interesting idea that it's almost unrecognizable from what this movie is outside of a few of the same elements. Like the basic story of the book is that Howl is actually a modern day Welshman. The book was published in the 80s. So Howl is a guy who is actually named Howell Jenkins, and he lives in 1980s Wales. He's just studied magic in our world and has figured out how to cross over into magical worlds. So he lives as a wizard in this world. So he is a modern day real world guy who is just some dipshit in his 20s using these magical worlds basically as a place to cruise for chicks.
That's great. Yeah.
And he's sort of forced to actually be a good person at the end of the story and do something to help people out.
I think they were trying to do that, but his character's
non-existent in this movie.
Yeah.
He just does whatever the scene needs him to do.
I get pieces of that in here, but it really is like, that is the arc that should have been more defined, where it's like, it's just this guy who likes to fuck chicks having to fight like a guy who's using great power to basically do a grift, having to suddenly use that power for good.
Exactly.
Like, that is a good idea. And it doesn't quite come off that way.
And it's such a neat idea because the story is told from the point of view of Sophie, and she has no knowledge of the real world. So she doesn't understand what any of this stuff is. So it's presented in a really fun way. It's like dramatic irony where we understand what it all is, but she doesn't.
That's
like,
great.
The black door in the book goes to Wales. It goes to his sister's house in Wales in the 1980s, and she follows him there and doesn't understand anything she's seeing.
Oof. In fairness, I feel like you take a young person, bring him to the 80s, it's going to be nonsense. And it should be. It is nonsense. It's a nonsense time. Trying to explain Ghostbusters to her.
Yeah.
Like that's nonsense.
God awful. Try to tell her, try to fucking explain the royal family and Margaret Thatcher and shit.
Oh, yeah. She's like, this doesn't make any sense.
I don't like any of this.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
But yeah, it's the broad strokes are still pretty similar, at least for the first half of the movie.
Yeah,
the second half goes way off the rails. But
it sounds like they had a better story in the book that they could have done. For sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not the anti-war. It doesn't have any of that stuff in it. Like Miyazaki just took a story and a lot of the elements that he liked from it. Obviously, the moving castle itself and certain other things, and just kind of made his own adaptation. And that's totally cool. It's just frustrating as a specifically as a fan of the book. I'm sure you get it. You watch an adaptation. I totally get it. Yeah. Watch an adaptation of a book that you really like, and it's super different, and you get a little frustrated. You're like, "Oh, well, that's not what happens."
Well, I get frustrated when it's different and in a worse way,
in a bad way. Yeah,
yeah. Like I still maintain like The Shining. I've read the book, but the movie, I'm just like, yeah, this was the better choice for the movie because the book is a lot of Stephen King. It's that where it's like so much explanation, and it's like when you make the movie, you're like, let's if we're not making a mini series. We're gonna make it real simple for you, and I get that, but
yeah.
So
this is why this is an interesting movie for me as a fan of both the novel and a fan of Ghibli and Miyazaki as a filmmaker.
Right.
So it's like it's a movie I do enjoy watching, but I'm always a little frustrated with it.
Right, it's like watching your grandparents have a fist fight where you're like, I love you both.
Yeah.
I mean the two different sides.
I want to see you both win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the opposite of Alien versus Predator. Whoever wins, we win and lose.
Whoever wins, I'm still getting my cheeks pinched. So
exactly. So Alien Predator might pinch you in the cheeks too.
That's true. That's true.
A little pain.
That's true. They won't give me a check for my birthday though.
No, that's true. They won't. They might kill you.
They might. It's possible.
Yeah. It's on the table.
So, I think we're probably done now that we're talking about Alien versus Predator.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
That sounds about correct. So, boy, thanks everybody for watching this or listening to this with your ears. Mm-hmm. You're watching it with those ears. Big thanks to Harris and Millie, of course.
Thank you so much
for making this happen. Always a pleasure. It's they've been giving us a lot of hits.
Yeah.
So very exciting stuff. And,
yeah, this is a cool one to talk about.
Oh, for sure. And what else? We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. If you go on there, you get exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. You have access to them all for $5 a month. For $10 a month, we watch movies with our patrons every Friday night. And for a little more, you can get custom We Just Watched episodes. So check all that out.
Yeah. You can make us watch some other Ghibli movies if you like.
Yeah, give us the Ghibli.
Giblus your Ghibli.
Give us your Ghibli.
We also have a store. Head over to gameplayunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of stuff. So check that out.
Yeah. I didn't mention this. Imagine, Howl aside, imagine dating Christian Bale. Like, that's a nightmare.
Nope. Yeah.
He'd be method acting everything.
I mean, it would be a similar situation where he would disappear for days at a time and he would pitch a fit over accidentally dyeing his hair ginger.
Oh, bless me. Yep. Yeah, and he would turn into goo.
And invite the spirits of darkness.
Yeah.